Okay, so anything you say will be used in a court of modeling law, so be careful what you say. All right, so we're gonna do a round around for those people who are not from Toronto. I see Glenn's on the call. I see Mark's on the call. Do you guys have anything to say about the latest updates from your neck of the woods? Why don't we start with Mark from the US? Any news, Mark?
No, we had a successful Hudson Valley show last week, and we had the same level number between 2019 and 2021 of entrants, but the model count was up, entered by 41%.
Oh, wow.
And we had a 33% jump in walk-on traffic. So everybody's anxious to go back to the way it was. All the clubs are meeting in person now. You know, our Center for Disease Control has said, like, if you have a vaccine, you don't have to worry about a mask. But of course, people aren't always truthful about that. So most of the shows, there's no mask. We had about 30% masks at our show, and I was happy with that number.
And where was your show again, for those that don't know?
It was in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay.
So it's about 80 miles north of the city.
Okay. That's good.
And NorEastCon next year is still on for the spring. The theme is to build any model that was produced 50 or more years ago.
Oh.
And what's the date on that one, Mark?
Mark, just so it's clear, the prototype is 50 years or older, or the actual kit is 50 years or older?
The kit, I'm sorry, the kit is 50 years old or older. And I'll put the date of the show in the chat room.
Great.
Thanks, Barbie.
All right. Glenn, you got anything to say from Ottawa?
I wish I had some good news. We had our venue pulled out from underneath us.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Venue as in your Capcom show, or where you meet?
No, where we meet.
Oh my. Why was that?
That was for the past couple of years, we were at St. Anthony's Banquet Hall in Little Italy in Centertown, Ottawa. And when we started going back to ask them, you know, we'd like to consider coming back, and they informed us that they rented out the that area of their facility to a company, and unceremoniously let us know that we no longer had a place to meet.
Oh, jeez.
You want to have a sit down with them? Me, Renzo.
I'll get Luca Brazzi to come with us.
Yeah, Luca Brazzi.
We'll have a little chat over some veal cutlet sandwiches.
If you knew their affiliations or the rumored affiliations, I don't think you'd be so quick to say that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, to anybody who's from IPMS Ottawa, who's in this meeting, this will be announced at our club meeting. Yeah, so Victor and Benoit already knows, but this is not to be discussed with anybody until it's announced at the club meeting. Do we understand ourselves?
Oh yeah.
What are you talking about?
You are still in negotiations. Is this what you're telling me?
We have some feelers out to other places, but nothing that's within our price range.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Glenn, what about the Loblaws kitchen option, like you know, the kitchen training room or whatever the kitchen seminar room,
cooking school?
No, hands down. Personally, if you bring foreign chemicals into the kitchen, you're staying behind cleaning that kitchen.
Interesting.
Well, we don't bring any foreign chemicals. We don't do actually any building or whatever.
No, but I'm just saying there's health codes into that right now.
Yeah, we don't seem to have that problem at our Loblaws in Toronto. But then again, we're not really spraying stuff in there.
No.
Yeah. So we have some feelers out to churches and community centers. It's an absolute no-go for the War Museum. They sent us the price list, and it's just ridiculous.
But
so we got a couple of irons in the fire right now, and we're looking.
But are you guys still planning to hold the Capcom show at the War Museum?
Once we get into negotiations about starting that up, we're hoping to, yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks. Anybody else from outside of Toronto, feel free to chime in if you want to update some. If there's anybody outside of Toronto, anybody? Anybody out west, out east? No? All right. So, sorry. Does somebody want to say something?
Ivan, what are you doing?
Making a mold.
All
Is it a
right.
face?
So-
Is it a mask?
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about, I'll do a short show report. Believe it or not, there was a show in Canada, what about 3 weeks ago that I went to in Windsor, and I'll do that, but I'll do that after the show and tell. And so if there's anything else anybody wants to notify, we'll go back to other business later, but why don't we go right into the show and tell? Over to you, Eric.
Yeah, sounds good. We got about 6 people sent stuff in, and then Glenn sent his links to his latest updates here. So let me get this sharing, and we can get started. Now let's see, where'd my screen go? All right. First up, this was Anthony Wong. He wasn't able to join us tonight, but he just sent in some of the work that he's doing now. He's kind of focusing on some Navy deck crew people and things like that. I think he's going to work on, looks like he's working on some Tomcats and stuff like that. So I just said I would speak to it. I would put it up for him. I don't know if you remember, Anthony, he did the, what was it? It was a Super Cobra he did a while back. He's like on the, he's always using 3D printed parts. 3D. Really cutting edge kind of stuff. But really impressed to see where this one, one's going. So that ought to be pretty cool. Brian is the first one up here. Hey, Brian, there you are.
Hey, how you doing?
The first I don't know how you guys coordinated this, but like 50% of the stuff you sent me was Star Wars related this time. So take it away, Brian.
Yeah. This is just the Bandai Snowspeeder kit, and I did it up in Canadian markings.
That's cool.
Yeah. Marking F-35s, might as well get something, right? So there you go.
Nice.
That's cool.
Little aftermarket moose there.
Oh, that's cute.
Cool shot.
Oh, they have moose on.
Ah, that's nice.
Well, that's cool.
Where'd you get the decals?
I got them like 20 some odd years ago. They were made by Leading Edge. I have no idea where I bought them. Probably a hobby shop that ceased to exist a million years ago, and I never used them for anything, so I had them on standby, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
This would have been from an F-18?
Yeah, from the F-18, F-18.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's even got the Toronto area code 416. I like that.
Yep.
Like it.
That's deliberate.
Neat work. All right. Next we have Maurizio. I saw you on here. Ah, there he is. Okay. Maurizio, you want to tell us what you've been making? Oh, I think you're muted there. You're still muted, Maurizio.
And Maurizio, why don't you also introduce yourself too?
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So good evening. I've been peering at this over to YouTube for a while, and I thought maybe it's time for me to join. I've been doing this for a bunch of years, on and off. Started off when I was 7 into my early teens, then I abandoned it, and then back in my 30s, and lasted about 5 years. And then about 3 years ago, I got back into it, knowing that I was probably going to retire in a couple of years, which I did happily retired last year, and loving it. So now I'm pretty much full-time in the hobby, and it's been keeping me busy. So in terms of the kinds of stuff I like to do, right now it's mostly what I would call land-based, not necessarily just armor, but like you're seeing here, for instance, just some of these cannons were really attractive to me in terms of just the sheer size and the complexity, the engineering. So that's something that I did, and that's the 144. What is it? The Dora. I'm just trying to remember the name of the kit maker. Escapes me. SOAR Art. Excuse me. the only ones that make the one in 144. And that was a lot of work because there was a bunch of re-engineering had to be done, some shortening of the barrel, a bunch of stuff that had to be corrected. So I spent some time on that. So those are just a sample, and because I'm new, I just wanted to give you sort of a smatter of some of the stuff that I've been doing. Did you want to turn to the next one, Eric?
You got it right there.
Yeah, it looks great, Maurizio. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you so much, Harvey. I really appreciate it. The other thing I like to do as well is usually I get inspired when I'll see a sort of historic photo of some kind, and I'll think it's really an interesting thing to sort of look at and try to replicate. So the top right, for instance, this is probably you're familiar with it. Some of you might be anyways, that famous photo of that dozer just pushing this abandoned King Tiger in 1945. I thought that was really interesting. And that kit, by the way, of that D7 dozer from Mini Art was unbelievably gorgeous, just so detailed and absolutely beautiful. So love that. The one on the bottom left is another photo. You're not seeing on the tag, but that one there was something that happened to the Yak Tiger in Germany sometime in 1945, where it got knocked out and ended up running into a house. So I just thought it was a really interesting, sort of captivating thing. And the one at top of bottom right is a photo from Operation Just Cause in Panama in the 1980s, and sort of recreated that. So the kit is the kit, but then there's some building around the buildings and the signage and all that. So that's part of what I like to do. And then if you want to turn to the next one and the last one, and this is just a smattering of other things, and you can see that it's not one area, one period, one kind, etc. The dozer we talked about. The one on the top right is scratch build. So I mean, I do like going into details in interiors, etc. If there's a need for it, I just like that. And one day I sort of thought, well, maybe it's time for me to try a whole model, see whether I can actually scratch build something. And I happened to see this vehicle, which is a Russian Arctic explorations, low production. So I looked at a whole bunch of YouTube videos, their website, got some plans, etc. And then ended up building this thing over 3 months. And, I really loved it. The tires are 3D printed through my son, thankfully. But the rest is fully scratch build, just styrene, and that's it. And then, some World War stuff, just because it's pretty, it's got some nice camouflage, it's got an interesting design. The one at the bottom was that Romfel from CSM, and beautiful kit, beautiful instructions, and just so different. It kind of looked like a steampunk Batmobile. I had to do it. So that's the kind of stuff I do. It's no one kind. I mean, obviously I do a bunch of German armor just because it's cool and I love it, but it's kind of all over the place, and that's that.
Well, it looks awesome, Maurizio. Now, if you don't mind me asking, are you in Toronto? Are you from Toronto?
Yeah. I actually live about a block north of the distillery district.
Right. Do you go to shows at all?
You know what? I used to when in my sort of second round. I want to, and I know that I missed the one in Ottawa, which it's part of the reason why I joined, because you miss a lot if you're not talking to people. So yeah, I love to go to shows for sure.
You'll fit in with your work. That's phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Really nice.
Hey Harvey, is there any way to make those pictures bigger on an individual basis?
Oh, that's Eric controlling it. Eric, can you make them bigger? I don't know.
You know what? I did a composite, so
okay.
Yeah.
Maurizio,
Maurizio,
what did you do for a living just prior, if I may ask?
Yeah, I was an IT exec, and that's why I retired.
I'm guessing what the context of your question is, because like if you know some of the really, really talented US modelers, like guys like Mark Smith out of Ohio, he's an urban design architect, right? So sometimes your profession kind of delves into the quality of your work, right? But that's great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Up next, Paul. Paul, you just sent in the one picture. I guess it's a work in progress here.
Yeah, I don't think my snow speeder work looks as good as the other one. This is the original MPC kit originally from 1980, re-released in 1989. Yeah, it's got raised panel lines. the cockpit is fairly inaccurate. If you look at the pilots, it looks like the guy's got a parachute on his chest, which seems a little odd for a spaceship. In the movie, they actually have their air system. It's on their chest. And it looks nothing like that. So I painted the figure actually in the tester's square bottle orange, hand painted it. And you kind of see the primer going through. So I thought it looked pretty cool. It was originally in gloss, so I flat coated it. And I'm just working on the interior. I mean, it's not very accurate. The kit has pretty inaccurate interior. If you actually watch the movie, it doesn't really look much like that, but I'm more focused on the weathering on the outside of the vehicle. But yeah, it's coming along pretty good. I think I'm almost ready to close it up and put the cockpit in and then start working on the outside.
All right. Look forward to seeing it again next month.
Yep. Very nice.
And then Sugan sent a
well, just to continue Star Wars night.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had the inclination to build some of my Bandai kits. So I built the X-wing, and you'll see a TIE fighter as well.
Nice.
So here's the X-wing. You know, there's a Bandai 172. The only thing different I really did was I tinted the canopy. The canopy was clear. You know, it's there. So I just used some Tamiya smoke, and I tinted it.
Is that a relatively new kit, or is that an old kit, Sugan?
This came out what 5-6 years ago.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think actually maybe longer. I think it's older than your Millennium Falcon.
That's great.
Yeah. So obviously the X-wing is a little more weathered up than this TIE fighter. TIE fighters tend to look more clean. So all I did really was I put a wash in the panel lines, and I just did some subtle washes, just to like a hint of shadow. But other than that, it's pretty clean compared to the X-wing.
Yeah. Nice. All that they are together.
Nice.
Yeah. I wanted to build both of them together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Thank you, Sugan.
Yep.
And last we have Ted. You are showing us your Sky Raider. Oh, you're on mute there, Ted. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, this is, I finally actually got the fuselage all glued together with the wings on. That's as close up as I can get to the cockpit. So it shows the instrument panel and that.
What kit is that, Ted?
Pardon?
What kit is that, Ted?
It's the original release of the trumpeter one. It's that A1D/AD4, the big blue navy one on the box top.
Okay. Oh yeah, there's the box.
Yeah, and there
it is. There it is.
Tail wheels glued on and painted, and I just started working on the main gear struts today, and I've got there's a close-up shot that shows the front end a bit better. It's a very complicated molding to get everything that they want in place, and because it's all blue, I had to really thin down a pile of Humbrol dark gloss blue and just brush it on with a fine brush. Paint parts where I just know I'm not going to be able to airbrush afterwards.
Right.
So they did actually a pretty good job, and the parts fit not too bad. The top scoop, I've got to do a bit of a rub down on it to get it full with stuff, the cowling, the fuselage around it, and the bottom one, the same thing, a bit of a rub. But for the most part, the parts fit pretty good.
You know, it's one of these models that I have seldom seen on contest tables. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you probably why. For one thing, there's about 550 pieces to the kit, and it's bloody big. It's like almost 19 inches in wingspan.
Wow.
Which I couldn't figure out for a while. I just kept on saying to Marilyn, I can't figure out why the hell this plane's so big, because I got a 109 and a Spitfire up on the shelf. And they don't come anywhere close to the size of this. But when I finally decided to check it, the real plane had a 50-foot wingspan. So, so it was a big plane. And I took this shot and I sent it on to Eric just after I had sent the other ones, because I managed to get the cowling to sit in place. And it's one of only 2 aircraft that I've ever seen that was a propeller driven aircraft that has this weird, like the cowling just doesn't look the right size for the plane.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's this, the other one that I was just talking actually with a fellow modeler, Brian McNamara, tonight, because he had mentioned how small the cowling was on this. The only other aircraft I ever saw that had a really small cowling on it compared to the fuselage was the prototype P-36. But in the case of the P-36, it had an experimental twin roll Pratt Whitney that was really small in diameter, so it had a small cowling. This one had a Wright 3350, which is a big bloody engine. I just think the design department of the cowling and the fuselage didn't talk with each other until after they got all the parts designed. It was too late because it sure as hell isn't the same size as the fuselage. Anyways, hopefully by next month I'll have some paint on it.
Was that Korean War?
Yeah, yeah, it's just overall gloss blue. So yeah, that's the prototype XP36. It's just got that small cowling fuselage. That cowling actually in that color print there is actually a little bigger than in real life. If you saw a photograph of the actual airplane, its cowling is even smaller than that drawing.
Very cool.
Yeah, anyways, that's where I am so far.
Very cool.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's big.
Well, I think that's it. That was all the pictures. So.
All right, so that's gone through the ones that were sent in. I'm going to bring up Glenn's links now. Let's see. I want to start with this one because it's the neatest thing. So Glenn, tell us a bit about your event here then and the tractor that you did.
This was let's see, am I on mute? No, I'm not.
No,
this was our second Blitz build of the year, and it was on the Thanksgiving weekend from October 8th to the 11th, hosted in our Facebook group. I think we had about 17 people start. We had about maybe 6 finishers. And my wee little hamster brain was going back and forth trying to figure out a project. And I went through about a dozen or so. And the night before the Blitz started, Benoit and I were out in a hobby store in Ottawa, and I spied this on the shelf. It's a very small kit. And I thought, well, this looks cool. Let's do this. So we started this one.
Oh.
Typical mini art quality. It's a 1/35th scale. It's my 3rd mini art kit. And to start off our Blitz, we had to take a picture of the unstarted kit before the starting date and time. So I just took pictures along the way. There was one small broken part that got replaced, a little bit of wiring, and it went together very, very well. The detail was great. Parts count was fairly low. Everything fit together very well, and it gave me a chance to try a couple of different weathering techniques, and it turned out pretty well. And amongst the finishers, I managed to claim top honors with this one.
Oh, very cool.
Congrats.
Very
Awesome.
good.
Is it a resin kit or is it injection? I didn't
No,
really
it's
see
injection kits. They
Injection.
have about 3 different variants of this out there. So it's fairly small, and the last picture I posted along with the other 2 1/35th scale mini art kits that I've built.
Wow.
That's right.
The synchrocopter and the auto gyro.
So you did that in like 2-3 days?
About 3.5 days.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Folks. That's wonderful.
How many
highly
participants
recommended
did you have?
kits.
Yeah, I want to join your event, but I'm always doing something on that weekend, if not at home or in the Army, but that's great.
How many participants did you have?
I think we had about 17 for that one, and some people just had other commitments, took their time away from finishing their projects.
It was Thanksgiving weekend too, so.
And it was Thanksgiving weekend, so it's a bit of a crapshoot. We wanted a long weekend, but people are busy, so.
Sorry, Mark.
US Thanksgiving is this month, and we're going to do it again. But this was a very ambitious build. About 60% of the people finished. So it's not something that everybody finishes.
Nice.
Excellent. One of the things that we do have is we have a Zoom drop-in channel from the start of the Blitz to the end of the Blitz. And we give the address out to anybody who wants to join us. Even if you're not part of the Blitz, you just say, hey, if you're sitting at your bench and want to join us, come on, keep us company.
That's cool. Wow.
Yeah, that's always a fun time.
That's great. Wonderful.
Is this the IPMS Ottawa Facebook page?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Mark,
Eric, if you scroll up.
Yeah, I was going to say, where do I start?
Until keep going. Until you get to the part where it shows the mass. Yeah, right around there. Yeah, I had stalled on this project for quite a while. I was very fearful for trying something new on the base, which was adding a very complex set of anti-slip pads. So Benoit was kind enough to cut a vinyl mask, and I had it in my possession for weeks and weeks, and I was just way overthinking it until finally I decided, okay, poop or get off the pot sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So ended up finishing off the base in a couple days, and worked out remarkably well. Yes, I did invest in one of those tiny little Blitz rollers. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Great.
Yeah, and then so I finished off the base, glued the weapon to the base after everything was painted and weathered. And
Glenn, what's with your arm?
What was that arm?
Yeah, you got. Yeah, what
was that? Was that to de-stick the tape?
Bingo. That's it exactly.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't just show us a picture of your belly or something.
I was going to do it with my forehead and, put a loser across it, but I thought, no.
Hey, Vince, only a loser would guess that that's what it was for, but well done.
Oh.
Oh.
Old tricks are the best tricks.
Yes.
So your little Ushi roller,
yeah,
that's to get the anti-slip effect.
Yep, worked beautifully.
And what's the material? Is it something from AK? It looks like.
Well, there was two different things. The roller came with its own paste, which is like putty, and I used that for the most part to apply it and roll it on. And then I took the AK set, which is a tube of glue and some extremely fine sand, and added a little bit more grit. And it worked out just phenomenal. My God. But the thing I was really scared about was the masking was so fine between the different pads. I thought once I, steamroller this stuff on, the mask is going to be stuck down to the base. But no, it worked out perfectly.
And did you try out the anti-slip technique on your arm?
No. No.
Guys,
I just scratched it with my fingernail a little bit, and that was sufficient for me.
If you ever see that stuff when it's fresh, it's absolutely frightening to walk on in the summer.
Oh yeah.
Because if you've got a pair of shorts on and you go down, you're a bloodbath.
Yeah, you're going to be skinned right down to your bone.
Oh yeah, I was shocked at how aggressive that stuff is.
Yeah. So after the base was done, a lot of painting and cleanup and weathering. Then there was connections to be made between the weapon and the base, like an electrical or hydraulic conduit. So I just delved into scratch building hell to get those done. Anything that I can get my hands on.
That's great.
I will use. A lot of telescopic tubing.
Oh yeah, that's really convincing. That turned out great. And
then making more progress on the gantry, making some locking pins throughout, having my friend Paul Bourne 3D print the little niggly bits, because my attempt at scratch building with just plain stuff it looks terrible.
Wow, that's
So
great.
this is what he came up with, and those are like 0.047 diameter.
Wow. What ship are these on, Glenn? What?
I think Jonathan, help me out here. Are these on current Littorio combat ships?
Yeah, I think they are. They've mucked around putting a lot of subtly different things on stuff. So I'd say, yeah, for the most part. And then the odd other one, like even our own warships have had stuff on that are one-offs or two-offs.
Right.
And you go and you see them and you go, I didn't know that was there. And then, well, it's a trial run, or this, that, and the other. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, what most people are familiar with are the phalanx guns, the Sea Whiz. You see them on a lot of ships. They were the first ones to be produced. I think they were in the early 80s. They came out, and then it just evolved to the missile system after that. So yeah, the build goes on. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be painting this platform, the missile loading platform, and then attaching it at some point.
Hey, Glenn, a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
On your Thanksgiving build, are you working this in around like family activities and things? And secondly, do you have any tip for us on how you work through a weekend to get something like that done?
Well, choosing the date is, like I say, it's always a crapshoot about, yes, people have families, but we also need a long weekend to be able to do this. We don't want to do it for a 2-day event because that's really not enough time. It has to be 3 days or 4 days. So we did it in Easter and we had more attendance. We have it in Thanksgiving and we had less attendance. Other than that, we just tell people, let people know, don't tick off your family. If you're going to tick off your family, don't participate. And we have a sheet that we send out to everybody. Okay, here's the rules. They're fairly basic. Post a picture before you start. Post your hero shot when you're finished. Join us if you can, just for camaraderie. But if you send me your email, Mark, I'm happy to share all of the breakdown and the structure for the builds that we have. I'll be more than happy to send that to you.
Fascinating to work that fast. When I've tried it, I've always gotten into this whole compression thing where, okay, the paint has to dry and then you have to jump right into something else. And then you can't go back. You can't say, well, I didn't like that. I'm going to tweak a little bit. You just have to keep at it for all the time that you had to devote. I think Harvey did a field gun once in a weekend. He got a gold for it at the Chattanooga Nationals. So he's probably got some tips too. But very impressive, Glenn. Thanks.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, just in a nutshell, if you guys are thinking about doing quick builds, it's a whole new ball game. And ironically, it's probably you're using techniques that are not in the modeling book, right? So you're cutting corners, right, Glenn? You're not building for the gnats. You're cutting corners.
It's something that you don't want to say, this is my Grail kit that I have to do and do it in 4 days. No. You don't do that.
It's fun. It's for fun.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it also gets you like I'm speaking from my personal experience, right? I think it gets you moving and keeps you building, right? Because that's where I have difficulty with. It's like I'll start and then you stop and you kind of just let it sit and then it's like I don't know if I want to keep going with this.
Yeah.
So, but forcing yourself to go through those quick builds, I think pushes you to complete a kit and then makes you feel okay, I can do this. I can move forward with this next one. I don't have to be exactly right, but
Yeah. You'd be surprised if the big thing is to choose the correct subject. Don't get something that you're very, very passionate about and you have to be exact in the details. Forget it. You're going to get frustrated. You figure that you have to have a model that you can build just without painting within a day and a half.
Yeah.
And then paint
don't go
and
off
then,
your
and then weathering.
Yeah, don't go off your style. If
Mm.
you're into airplanes, stick with airplanes. Don't do like
Yep.
I do. Don't go armor when you never build armor.
Yes.
Benoit.
Yeah. On a side note, Benoit won our Easter one. He had a 35th scale Lav 3 with probably about 5 sheets of photo etch. And
Yeah, I think I
to the
saw pictures of that.
last day, we were watching his progress, and just everybody was collectively shaking their head, saying, "It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen." And he
And it
pulled the
happened.
rabbit out of his
That's
hat,
pretty-
and it was a spectacular job at the
Yeah, I
end.
saw that, Benoit. Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah. You know, one thing I learned with quick builds is you have the ability then to experiment, right? So
Yeah.
when I'm doing like weekend builds just for the fun of it, I'm using it as a test bed to test various products. Like, will this lacquer paint go over this acrylic? Because you have nothing to lose, right? Let's give it a try. So I use those fast builds just to experiment.
Yeah. And pick a kit that has less parts.
Yeah.
You don't start
Yeah.
an F-14 to me on the
No,
Blitz.
no.
No,
I know they go
no,
together. I know they
no.
fall together, but yeah, don't get the F4B Phantom from Tamiya. No.
Don't recommend
I've done
sailing ships either.
No.
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
God, man.
Yeah, no railings, Jonathan. Railings, lots of railing.
Thinking of I think it was it Norman's comment in the States, the bit about any kit 50 years old. For a minute, I thought any kit you've been working on for 50 years. I've got one. I'm at 4.
You get a
My one
special
ship-
prize for that, and I'll
Mark-
sponsor that award.
My one ship is 40 years at the moment.
Oh God.
Wow.
Does it have
it's
termites yet?
No, it's Heller's Soleil Royale.
Oh, right.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'll get her.
Is that it?
I've done a few 24-hour builds. There's a group of guys down in the U.S. that do a 24-hour build during the Daytona.
Uh-huh.
And both times I did it, I built Bandai Star Wars kits. And the
Right,
guys that
right.
have built Bandai Star Wars kits know why, right?
Right.
Because they go together like a dream. You can basically paint the entire kit on the sprue almost.
Right.
Yep.
And then assemble it, right? So, but both times I got carried away with weathering. On the Star Destroyer, I applied 800 tiny little pieces of tape to do all the paneling on the 1/5000 scale Star Destroyer. So it ended up taking me 26 hours as opposed to 24 hours. I did sleep for 4 hours in there too, so I kind of cheated, right?
Oh.
And then this year I did the Han Solo Millennial Falcon, and I got carried away with weathering on that again. So I did, once again, I was 2 hours over, but I did sleep for 5 hours. So, but those guys are crazy. A lot of those guys will do carbs with gloss finishes, and they use food dehydrators to accelerate the drying time of the paint.
Oh, right.
Right. So that's a trick for the guys that started it are car modelers, right? So they're using all these car modeler tricks and food dehydrators and hair dryers and stuff to try and cure the paint faster so they can keep working on the models, right? So it's a lot of fun, but it's a real challenge. You got to really, when it's coming up, usually I get the kit out and I study the instructions, and I have the parts sitting out for days, and I study everything, and I try to get a really good 90% game plan on how I'm going to attack this model, right? And what I'm going to paint it with. And usually everything's all laid out and ready to go. And then, noon happens on Saturday and you start going, eh?
Yeah. Mark, you might want to talk to your IPMS USA guys for, perhaps a quick build 24 hours before the convention and see how fast.
Oh, good God.
Right? Because everything at the Nationals is the Olympics, right? You guys, if you haven't been, everything's meticulous. But let's see how good these guys are when you got 24 hours. That would be fun. That would really.
I like the story where the guys went to the Nationals and they saw there was one category, commercial aviation, that had no entries. So they went upstairs to their room.
Oh, nice.
And they built entries to put into that category.
What?
Nice.
Oh my God.
That's fun.
I did that in the show once. There was nothing in one of the categories, so I bought a biplane off a table and I built it in 45 minutes.
Nice.
With supplies I bought at the show, and I put it in the category, and they gave me the plaque because I was the only entry.
Well, you still deserve
a win is a win.
Yeah. I've still got the model. It's awful. It's just awful.
We did that once.
Might have the plaque, and he lost it though. So
we did that once to Dave Bailey. There was a category that was not entered, and we did an out of the box with a, I don't, it was some like a Lego thing or something, and we put it under David's name. And he had no idea until I called him up.
For those guys that don't know, Dave Bailey has a long reputation of not finishing anything. So that's yeah. So there's something to think about. All right, David, you have something to share.
Yeah, I do. So let's see if this will work. Yeah, looks good. Screen go backwards. All right, there we are. So this was what I like to call a shelf queen. Are you guys seeing that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, this was the Russian Su-57 kit by Zvezda in 72nd scale. I bought the kit when it first came out, and the kit was still labeled as the T-50 because that's what they were calling it back originally, right? So and then it became the Su-57. So anyways, I dug it out, and it had been in a box for, I don't know, I started it 7 or 8 years ago. But at some point, one of the vertical stabilizers got snapped off as I was taking it to and from meetings to work on. So it went in the box and I forgot about it. So a few months ago, I dug it back out and I drilled and pinned the port vertical stabilizer and put it back on and got it finished cleaning it up and got a coat of primer on it. And they got this paint scheme they call the shark scheme. And I really thought it was kind of neat. It's like this really light blue gray with this darker sort of intermediate blue on there. So I freehanded all this stuff. All the white was of course masked off and everything. And the canopy had been masked for, since I was working on the kit originally. So this is like 8-year-old to me, a masking tape on there. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher. How good is it going to come off? I don't know, right? But I just kept working on it anyways. So that was it with paint on there. And then I had the mask off. There's all this really interesting metallic stuff around the engines on this, like a lot of these 5th generation fighters. So it involves quite a bit of masking and, protecting the model and stuff like that. And I got most of this painted on here. It's got these like stripes across this area, and then there's like these faded areas. So I used thin masking tape and I masked all these stripes, and then I sort of took a little bit of sanding sponge and I tried to sort of sand these horizontal lines on there. It turned out not bad. And then it has these bright silver panels on here, so I masked these off. I masked each one. This was my 3rd attempt at trying to mask these panels. In the end, what I did was I took a square of masking tape and one of those photo etch templates, and I would just like cut out this 2 straight lines in the radius. Then I would apply it. I just did that 4 times for the 4 corners of this rounded square, right, or rectangle. And it actually worked out really good. So I was pretty happy with that. This is one of these things when I'm laying in bed at night thinking about a model I've been working on and how am I going to mask this stuff, right? Or maybe sometimes standing in the shower. You catch yourself standing there in the shower thinking about a project, right? So usually it's work. In this case, it was a model. So there I, protected everything again, gave it a quick squirt of silver. And then, it turned out not bad. And I had aftermarket decals by a company called Bigamot. And this is I applied them. Now this photo looks nicer than it really is. So I applied them, like I really did like a big long decal marathon session for like 4 or 5 hours, but all these decals on here, and I went to bed thinking it's pretty good. Next day I look at it and I was less than satisfied, let me say. So I took a photo at a different angle and then at a different angle. And in this photo, so I had a gloss surface. I used all the decal setting solutions and everything. And the next day it looked like this. All the decals had silvered, right?
Oh, wow.
And I was surprised. I've never had this happen. Usually if something's going to silver, you can tell right away.
Yeah, you got a bad batch, Dave, because I've used their decals before. They're pretty good.
I think so. And these decals were as old as a kit. So I don't know what the deal was, right? So I thought, screw it. I'm just going to put a flat coat over it and I'm going to leave it, right? So put it in the display case. That's what I did. And I'm laying in bed at night. It's like this model is keeping me awake now, right? Because I can't even look at it. I hate it so much, right? And I'm like, I can't deal with that. So I figure, fine, screw it. The next day I get up and but the nice thing about this model is my metallic areas turned out really nice. I was really happy with that, right? So I mean that was a nice bonus. But the next day I dug out the Scotch tape and you can see up here, right? I just started peeling the decals off and they came off like nothing. Like they weren't even stuck down hardly, right? So I went around and I peeled every decal off the entire model. Luckily, I still had the kit decals that came with it, There weren't nearly as many, but I thought, well, screw it. I don't want to go through all this decal work again. I just want to have this thing done and decent, right? So after all the decals were off, I reapplied the decals. That's it, done now. So when I reapplied the kit decals, so I took all that off. I gave the whole thing kind of a polish, and then I gave it another coat of gloss. And then when I applied the kit decals, I used the trick where I took future floor polish, and I thinned it like 80% with just some water, right? And so what I would do is I would get the decal loose on the backing film, put a tiny puddle of that future mix on the model, and I would float the decal onto that. And then like normal, I would squeeze all the, the really, really diluted future up from under there. And so it would like basically glue the decal onto the surface. No chance of silvering then. I'd done it before on some other kits. So that's what I did. And in the end, I think it turned out not bad. I sort of saved it, right? So there's no silvering on the decals now. There's not as many decals, but I can live with that. So, and the masking on the canopy turned out not bad. It's a bit rough around the edges. I'm going to come back in and maybe try and touch that up with a 4-0 brush or something, but we'll see. And so that's the finished result there, And I really I was so happy with my paint job. I had to save it as much as I could. So that's what I ended up with there. So it's a nice little kit. The fit was pretty nice on it. These Vesda kits are weird. When I got this, there was like a weird texture on all the styrene parts, right? There was like kind of a rough texture because the tooling wasn't polished, I guess, when they made the tooling. So I remember building this kit and having to take like it was like 2400 grit micro mesh and like literally sand the entire surface of the entire model to get a nice smooth finish before I put paint on it. So, but I'm happy with the result, and that's what it really comes down to, I guess. So there it is, all done. And I put a clear flat on there, or a semi-gloss flat, so it has a little bit of a sheen like these 5th generation fighters all seem to have, right? So, and the paint I used on this, I used all Gunsy lacquers. I love the Gunsy lacquers, so that's what's on there.
The Gunsy lacquers, you applied it over the decals, right, David?
Yeah. I mean the base, all the paint on there is Gunsy lacquer. Yeah. Yeah, so all of it, including well, actually the semi-gloss clear is the Tamiya lacquer.
Right.
And then another little project I'm working on now. Again, I started this years ago, and I dug it back out the other day. Is this little Japanese ramjet from Ming?
Okay, cool.
If you've ever built one of these Ming kits, I know they do a lot of armor and stuff too. They're just like this is like a little jewel, this model. Like when you put the wings on, they got they're a perfectly straight. There's no dihedral at all. They're perfectly straight. And I thought this is going to be a pain in the ass, right? Well, when you plug the wing tabs into the fuselage, the wings are like contoured on the inside edge, and they fit super snug. There's basically no seam at all, and they sit perfectly straight. I was really impressed by the quality of the kit itself. So something I did is the kit comes with this little stand to set the model on because there's no landing gear, right? I didn't like this little styrene stand, so I have some wood strips around. So I just used some little hardwood in that strips, and I built a little wooden version of that. I've got little wheels to go on here that are currently in the paint booth, getting painted up to go on there. But I just built it out of some wood and sort of copied what they had. I used a Dremel and put a bit of a curve in there so the fuselage fits nice and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty neat. And there's the model itself sitting on there right now. The paint scheme I'm doing, I didn't bring that image up, but it's like a tiger stripe. So it's all these bands that go this way. And then there's bands all around the fuselage. So I'm working up the nerve to try and airbrush those freehand. I've got a 0.2 millimeter needle in my Grex right now, so I need to thin down some paint super thin and do some practicing on one of my paint mules. But I think I can pull it off. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe next month I'll show you a good result or a bad result. We'll see. But like every kit I build, I try to do something different and challenge myself. This has the wood stand, and I'm going to have that fine little paint scheme on there. So that's it.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing.
Cool.
Anybody else want to share anything while we're here before I go into the show report? Anybody? No?
Just
All right.
actually a quick mention.
Yeah.
To Dave with the tiger stripes. One thing that I've been playing around with is making these sort of smoke and flame effects using French curves, and just creating out of cardboard, out of something that has sort of an edge of a tiger stripe that's quite long, and you can use it in different positions, and that could, you know, and just spray off to the side of it. That could work quite well, or make it easier.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll try something like that. I'm that's my holdup right now. This has been sitting now for a week, and I've been thinking about how am I going to paint those tiger stripes, and I've done everything else for the model now. I'm almost to the point where I can't avoid painting it anymore. I think we all know how that's.
Yeah,
I know what that's like.
Yep. All right, so I'm just gonna take an opportunity to just share a quick project I did last month. Hold on. Everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. You guys know I build kind of everything as well, and all scales. So once in a while I go back to my original armor roots are actually Braille scale 1/72, and this is a 1/72 SDKFZ 162 Panzerjäger, and that's just kind of like the modulation prior to the camouflage. Pretty small little vehicle. I decided to do my own Schürzen, the armor plating on the side, different camo techniques. It's a pretty small thing. This one it took about less than a month, maybe 3 weeks to do. Just kind of like hone the skills back into Braille. It's the Hasegawa kit with some aftermarket resin for the Zimrit, kind of like bashed together. And it kind of goes to show you that sometimes you really need to conjoin different kits for the one that you want, because I really wanted the Zimrit pattern. And this resin kit is, I believe it's from a resin company in France, but anyways, and I just used the Hasegawa wheels and everything else, made a new hatch, just to kind of get your skills back. And that's the original kit. It came with resin Zimrit, but it wasn't very good, so I relied on the this is the kit here. It's Jader Models Armo. That's the one I used. And that's what it looks like, just kind of finished up. It's nothing special, just kind of like get something out of the way. Just try and practice on using some very tight airbrushing. And that's it there. Now, what I'm going to talk about now is the Windsor show. So as I said earlier, all shows in Canada have been pretty well kaput now since before COVID. We haven't had any shows. I think they had a show out in Edmonton. They might have had a show out there, but there have been no shows in Toronto, no shows in Canada. And from what we are hearing officially, there is no Guelph. So Guelph is off. It was supposed to be, I think, in November. And Heritage Con is also not on for the spring of next year. Because I spoke to Alan a few weeks ago, so it's not on. So we really don't have anything to look forward to until Mark, your regionals next spring. We have nothing in Canada. However, we had a small show in Canada in Windsor back in October, about 3 weeks ago, and they didn't really advertise very well, but nonetheless, I found it on the web, and I thought, what the heck, let's go. So I took a road trip. It's about 4 hours from Toronto to Windsor. Couldn't cross the border. No Americans came up because I called them, and just too many restrictions. So the show was put on by, apparently it's done every year. I forget the name of the club, but suffice it's the Windsor Scale Model guys. And they put on a show every year. It's in the hangar of the Windsor Aviation Museum. And during COVID, what they did was they had to, well, I thought it was great personally. They asked for proof of vaccination, and the model show was essentially outdoors because it was in a hangar with the doors wide open. So it was completely safe. It was a small show. There were about maybe 50 models. That's all there were, but there were some really nice ones there. I brought down some, but I didn't enter all. I brought down 3, but I only entered 1. I just put the others on display. But I'll show you some pictures now of the show. Just a bit of eye candy. Okay, everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. I if you guys want to chime in as to what they are, I have no idea, but I believe it's an 1 something German vehicle of some kind. There's another D-Mag. I'm just going to roll through these because Robert sent them to me. Robert Willardek, he went down. Sergey was down there, and myself. That's it. Nobody else from Toronto or London or Hamilton was there. Sherman Firefly. It was kind of neat because the show was held kind of like Heritage Con in the Aviation Museum. There, if you haven't been to the Windsor Aviation Museum, go there because they're restoring a Lancaster and a Mosquito, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. Yes, and they're doing a pretty darn good job of it. If there's anything, they don't advertise. So, yeah, I really wasn't looking at anything else in the Aviation Museum outside of the show. I was focused on the Mosquito and the Lank. And I once I process those pictures, I'll show those to you perhaps next month. But they're doing a pretty good job on that Lank, and you can actually go up and look through the fuselage. So that's worth it in itself. So these are the armor entries. There's a Bird Panther. Very very friendly group. I don't know any of them. They just tend to be there, their own little show, and kudos to them. There's, I would say it was a pretty well even split between armor, aircraft, and cars. There's some sci-fi there. Canadian Leopard C1A1. There's one for you, Benoit. There's, what is that, a T-Lab? What is that? And there's some sort of weird, I don't know if, I think that's a what if.
That's a paper tiger.
Yeah.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah. Been into aircraft.
Meow.
That's pretty large. That's 32nd scale.
Yeah. That's probably the Zukimura kit.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yep, Glenn, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's neat, eh?
Yeah, is that the 72nd scale? That can't be the 48 scale.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Could be the artillery 48 scale.
You know what? It might be because that's my comp back there, and that's 48 scale. So I think it's 48 scale.
Oof.
Right there it is.
Oh, that's definitely 48.
That's my Cont 1007. I'm gonna stop building 48 multi-engine aircraft because I need a new house. that thing's big, and it's resin, eh? So it's very heavy.
Imagine what Alfred's house is like.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it, Bill. Yeah, this thing's a weapon. Like, it's so heavy, I could defend myself with it if I had to.
Hey Harvey, I got a prospective project for you.
Yeah.
Did you know that ICM makes a 148 scale? Is it HE 111? Is it called a Zwilling?
Yeah, Zwilling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got one downstairs. I forgot I had it, and I had friends over.
Oh my God.
He just went gaga over this thing. He never knew that ICM made that.
I didn't know either. That wingspan must be huge.
It's monstrous.
Oh my. You got to build that on your 3-day weekend build there, Glenn.
Yeah. Only if I have a time machine handy.
That's also mine. These were displays. That's my little Hickory 172nd. It's in the current issue of Scale Aircraft Modeling if you want the details. It's 172nd scale. A couple of more large scale. Yeah. Voodoo, right?
Super Sabre.
Super Sabre.
Super Sabre.
There's a Canadian Mustang.
How's your Mustang coming along?
Oh yeah, it's almost done. I was going to show pictures of it tonight, but it's almost done. Guys, I'm working on a 32nd scale RCAF Mustang 1. I'm building for General Richard Romer. The guy's turning 98. And it's for his birthday, and his aide-de-camp called me and said, "We heard you build models, Harvey. Would you like to build his Mustang?" I said, "Well, okay." It's almost done. It's going to be presented to him on November 11th up at Canadian Forces Base Borden.
Oh, is that open to people to go see it?
Well, I had a couple of people help me. I had John Wong, David Chan Sang, who's on this call. He helped me a great deal. Tony Whittenham from Aerobuffs. They all helped me with the research. And so because it's a select group, small because of COVID, I'm just waiting for security clearance so they can come on the base and be at the event. So we're just waiting for clearance. But yeah, it'll be a small affair with the general, and we'll just present it.
Right.
I'll talk about it another day. But every expert on Mustangs on the internet, in terms of colors and markings for Mustang ones, are not always correct, because Romer has this amazing memory. And we've been going back and forth on the actual colors and mods to his Mustang, which he remembers quite well, because that was the day that he was flying and he spotted Erwin Rommel to call him a Spitfire strafing run. So I'm using his advice and his memories on the paint schemes of his aircraft.
Oh gosh.
Some cars. One of these days I got to do a car. I got a bunch of F1 cars, but you know, that was nice.
Careful, car kits are actually addictive. Once you start doing those gloss finishes, you fall in love with doing them, Harvey.
That's true, David. That's very true. And I got about 10 or 11 F1 cars already in my stack. I haven't touched one of them. But guys know I'm a bit off, because my theme is I only buy F1 race cars where the drivers died in them. So there you go.
Oh, jeez.
I gotta limit my theme, right? So that's it for Windsor, right?